Welcome everyone to JCTV Spotlight on the Arts. Today is May 2nd, 2018, and we are finally into the springtime temperatures in Missouri. I know I've been sharing with you the long winter months that we had to witness. So we're really enjoying the weather here in the Missouri State's capital city of Jefferson City, Missouri. I'm your host, Rick Jey, welcoming you back with us. And I've got a special guest today I've been looking forward to for you folks to meet and learn more about. I've been really excited to visit with a gentleman which is known as a naturalist, and we call him Austin Lambert. He's from the Department of Conservation and affiliated with, directly assigned to the Runge Nature Center here in Jefferson City, which many of you tell me that you visit many times and you take your break there. So we're going to get really down to and get personal with Mr. Lambert here and find out what's happening at the Runge Nature Center in Jefferson City. So if you will please welcome Mr. Lambert with me. I'm truly excited to turn the spotlight on you today, Austin.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rick. I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you. And Austin, if I may call you by your first name,
yes.
Please tell us a little bit about you and those highlights of your life that best describe Austin Lambert.
Yeah, so I was actually born and raised in a small community in northern Iowa. I've been interested in nature from a very early age. I was planning on working with conservation at some point in my life, which I'm glad I'm finally able to do that. I was very content to live and work in Iowa my entire life, but I met and fell in love with a beautiful woman from Missouri. And so a couple years ago, I finally had the opportunity to work for the Missouri Department of Conservation. We actually moved over to the St. Louis area and lived there for a little while, and I finally got a full-time naturalist position here at Runge here in Jefferson City. And so it's been great working for the department. I think the highlight since I moved to Missouri is actually a while back. I had a daughter who will be turning 17 months here in a couple of weeks. So that's very exciting. So
and what a blessing!
Oh yes, absolutely.
A new world for Mr. Lambert.
Absolutely.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions. What brought you to the beautiful Missouri State, and where you was leaving Iowa? I guess you. Could I say you got tired of the corn, maybe?
Well, there's plenty of that there, and one could definitely get tired of it. But conservation's jobs in Iowa are kind of hard to come by.
I see.
Iowa has one of the best, Missouri has one of the best conservation departments in the entire country, and so there's lots of jobs. People in Missouri definitely care about conservation. So there was opportunities here, and it was a way for my wife to get closer to her family as well. So it was good for both of us. So.
Oh, excellent! Sounds like. You've got a great life ahead of you.
Oh, yeah.
That's for sure. Well, that explains that. I know of driving, well, not driving, but first year out of home from the Nam, Japan assignment, I had to do the summer training for the government, and I thought I'd never get out of the corn, shall we say. That's my ultimate. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Would you like to say directly a shout out to any family member?
No, I'd love
maybe
to say,
for the little one, even when she
absolutely.
looks at the content of the show.
Yep, I'd love to say hi to my wife Elizabeth and my daughter Magnolia.
Magnolia, oh, now that's a great Missouri name. Oh,
absolutely.
super. That's only a naturalist could come up with a name like that. And that's great, isn't it? Well, Austin, I want to go back to, I would like to say, well, can you share with us when you first, and how you were first inspired really to become, what was the turning point? As an artist, at some point we see something that appeals. Did you play with your first frog or toad? Or
Well, I was interested in nature from a very early age. My parents did a very good job of nourishing that interest.
Oh, I see.
Constantly taking me outside, did a lot of hunting and fishing with my father, and canoeing and hiking, those sorts of things. I do remember meeting my first naturalist. Our school had taken a field trip to a nature center in our hometown, and I met the naturalist and sat through one of his, or participated in one of his programs that he had there, which was on wetlands, and I still remember it to this day. And that's when I first thought that, oh, I might like to do this. And as my interest kind of grew in the outdoors, it became more apparent that, yes, I definitely can do this. And everything worked out, and now I don't know that I could do anything else. So I definitely enjoy what I do.
So you started a training program very young,
oh, yes.
thanks
Yep.
to the parents. We've got to give it to the
They
parents.
did a good job, yep.
And so you're a naturalist. I mean, you're a natural.
Yeah,
Well,
naturalist, yeah.
Maybe those are synonymous. Maybe. Well, very good. Well, Mr. Lambert, is the naturalist at the Runge Conservation Nature Center in Jeff City, Missouri, where one can become really one with nature as a visitor, or where one really can become involved with the mission at the Runge Center as a volunteer. Can you share a little bit with us the mission statement for the Runge Conservation Nature Center? It's formulated, I guess, basically by the Missouri Department of Conservation. So you must have some guidelines to follow, some type of a program format, the mission, to carry out such great events at the Runge Conservation Nature Center.
So the mission of the Missouri Department of Conservation is to manage and protect Missouri's fish, forest, and wildlife resources, and to help the citizens of Missouri use, enjoy, and learn about those resources. And so at Runge, we're trying to do the exact same thing. We're trying to help the department overall, because again, we are a member of the department. And we try and take visitors that come in that might like nature, or maybe they don't even think anything about nature. And we try and get them from that point to maybe people that like to learn about nature, care about nature, and ultimately care for nature. So rather than just learning about those things, we'll actually take steps to help the different natural resources that we have in the state. Right. So we're trying to change people's opinions, which sometimes is very hard, but it's totally worth doing. And the people in Missouri are, again, I mentioned, are very conservation conscientious, which is fantastic. But there are some people that do need a little nudging to kind of get them moving that way. So that's where we come in.
Excellent. Now, we will talk a lot more about what's happening at the Runge at this moment, but I wanted to go back, and you said people. Now, your general scope of things, what's the demographic, meaning what age groups are you seeing mainly? Because I've been there to visit. I've seen middle-aged people. I've seen grandparents. I've seen the little ones with the grandparents, with the parents. So you could probably, I don't know if you had direction or you just let it happen and hope for the best.
So we do a combination of things.
Okay.
So obviously we're open to the public to come and visit. And then we mostly get a lot of families. We do get some older folks and some young families, some single young adults. So a variety, but mostly those family groups is who we really get visiting. We also get a lot of school groups, especially in the spring. Out there today, there was a couple hundred kids out running around, checking out our exhibits, sitting through programs, walking around, hiking around our trails. So we do get a lot of school groups. We also try and do public programs that target different groups. So we'll have some that target even down to infants, others that seem to attract an older crowd, 50-plus crowd in some of our other programs. And we have plenty of stuff for everybody in between. So some of it happens naturally, some we're trying to attract a different crowd. So
attract and more or less direct.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and many of these are urban folks. So we get a lot from in town in Jeff here, but being in the state capital, we get a lot from St. Louis and Kansas City area, even as far as Springfield at times. We do get a lot of people from the surrounding areas, the more rural areas as well. So we're really out there for all Missouri citizens to enjoy.
Well, I have found just getting prepared for the show today, you cannot, I have friends and family and associates in St. Louis and Kansas City and the area, but you cannot mention the Runge Center without someone noticing it or saying, yes, I've been there. And there's something else. We all need a little place to get away sometimes, and so I see a lot of that. Just as my stops by just to say hi to Austin in preparation for the show, and what we'll talk about in a few moments. a lot of people just come back, come to relax, to take their minds, I guess, downtime. It's just really a relaxing arena for anyone that has time to stop by and get lost. In fact, I stopped by the other day to coordinate a little bit with Austin. He was out looking for this certain bird. Now, he has not revealed yet which bird it was. So, you know, I like to feed the birds at home, so I just, did you have a certain bird that it's in our area maybe?
This time of year is kind of crazy. Migration for a lot of birds that move up from South America occurs this time of year.
Oh, my, yes.
But because of the way the spring was going, they weren't moving. And now things change. We had a nice south wind the last couple of nights, so birds were moving then. And so there's no particular bird. I'm looking for all of them. Anybody with feathers, I'll take a peek at.
So that when you made that statement, I'm looking for all. That's exactly what you was describing.
Yep, absolutely.
That the move has been started, I guess, from
Yep.
the south, and so then you
sure.
may see all types. I
Absolutely.
see many even coming through at home, different ones that kind of basically stop in, I guess.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yep.
They keep their feet out, and
Yep.
so that's
that's,
super. Well, Austin, we must take a break, so hang with me if you can. And folks, after the break, we learn more from naturalist Austin Lambert of the Runge Nature Center in Jefferson City. Proud to be a part of the Department of Natural Resources, Department of Conservation. We'll learn more of what's happening and what is scheduled currently there at the Runge Center later on after the break. Stay with me.
Look, Perk, pay attention! What you looking at, lady? Get back to work.
Hey, Jen, how you doing today?
Oh, okay, just leave me alone! Pay attention!
Hey, pay attention, buddy! What's wrong with you?
Stupid kids! Pay attention!
Punk, pay attention!
Welcome back, everyone, to Spotlight on the Arts, here coming to you from Jefferson City, Missouri, the capital of Missouri State. And I'm your host, Rick Jey, with, again, a very special guest, Mr. Austin Lambert, who's a naturalist at the Runge Nature Center, where he holds down a position with the Department of Conservation. Now we're going to get into more of the highlights of what's really happening at the Runge Center. It's all here at Spotlight on the Arts. Well, Austin, you've shared so much in the very first half of the program. Now I'd like to ask you to share with the viewers what is available for them as a visitor, guest, or how they, or their family may become more involved with the happenings at the Runge during their this operational year of 2018.
Yeah. So we do have a lot of scheduled events and special events throughout the year. Most of those events can be found in our Habitat Happenings newsletter, which can be found online. And it just lists all the things that are going on at Runge, which again is a huge number of different things. Of course, we couldn't do most of that without our volunteers, which do help us out quite a bit. But we have things like several different hiker groups that go to different state parks around the state. Some that are a little more serious about covering distance, others that are wanting to take it a little more slow and kind of look at the nature around them. We have some birding groups, so if you're interested in looking at birds and bird watching and that sort of thing, you can meet up with those folks, and they stick a little closer to home, but they also get around a little bit and concentrate on different groups of birds. We have other groups like our quilters group and several other art groups, so if you're interested in nature and art, that's a good way to combine those two, and you can come out here and learn about nature by experiencing these different art type things. So those are a couple of the great programs. Of course, we have all sorts of things for families, programs again starting down from infants to all the way up to young adults, and then a variety of different topics for our different programs for adults and families in general. So just things going on all the time. Every Saturday from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, we have what we call a What's Going On at Runge. And so the topic will vary what's going on each Saturday, but if you stop in, there's always some type of activity going on.
So you have a little presentation. You have something basically going on
and so
about all
lots
the
of
time.
Oh yeah,
and they can find all this out
on
and verify it. Do you want to give that website while?
So if they go on the NDC website, which is ndc.mo.gov, if they just look underneath Discover Nature on there, they can look up nature centers, and each nature center has its own newsletter. And again, ours is Habitat Happenings, and it has all the what's happening at Runge. Some of the bigger special events that we have coming up, we have a Monarch Mania, which is on June 9th. And that's a great program, and there's all sorts of activities and things going on that day, and that you can come out there and learn a little bit more about Missouri pollinators, which are kind of a big ticket item in conservation right now, is pollinators. And then we have another event on July 26th, which is an outdoor skills sampler. So if you're interested in canoeing, archery, or fishing, you can come out there, and even if you've never participated in any of those types of events, you can experience them for the first time. So we'll take you down, give you some instruction, teach you how to shoot. Give you some instruction, put you in a canoe, and see how you do.
Oh my.
Get a worm on your hook and see if you can catch a fish. So that's another event that I'm definitely looking forward to. So I think that'll be good for the people in the area.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Now, you also have a great volunteer program. We've had people on the show. Mr. Dan Bernskater is a volunteer, and there may be more that I don't know about. So you might want to talk to them. And what's the duties? I guess they have to be trained. They have different duties that they carry out, the different assignments. I know I've talked to a couple, even at the local Wendy's, that are volunteers, a favorite spot close to the Runge Center.
Yeah.
And they're always talking to me about how much they enjoy it. And even for this older senior citizens, there's something going on. So tell us a little bit about the volunteer program. Get us excited if you want to about becoming a volunteer.
And so there's actually many volunteer opportunities with the Missouri Department of Conservation. It's not all just Runge. If they go onto our website, and when they're at the main page, if they go all the way to the right side, I believe there's a tab that says Contact and Engage. Go on that, and then there's volunteer opportunities right below that. And so you can click on that, and department-wise, we have volunteers that run our shooting ranges. They teach hunter and fishing education programs. They can also find other programs that are already existing, like stream teams is a good example of our Master Naturalist is another program that they can get involved with. But of course, there are all our volunteer naturalists at Runge, which are my favorite volunteers, of course. For that one, if you're interested in volunteering, you would just either stop in at the front desk and ask to talk to the volunteer coordinator, or give us a call and ask to talk with her. And there's a variety of different things that we do. There is an interview process and there is a training, so it is fairly intensive, but we want the best people with us, working with us. So they actually help run some of the programs, like the quilting program and a lot of the hiking programs and birding program. So they work a lot with the public. We have others that work our front desk, and they'll help answer the public's questions, kind of just get them oriented with the area, with the Runge area. We have some that help us with animal care, because we do have some animals on exhibit there as well. Help maintain our trails, do all sorts of different work. So there's a job for everybody. Whether you want to work with the public or not, we have something for you. So.
Well, you spoke of animals. We all love animals. The other day, I counted, I believe it was 8 different wild turkeys.
Oh, yeah.
You might mention some of the animals that they may see there.
Oh, well.
Not only inside, when we get to the reptilians, but also the other.
So inside we do have a fairly large aquarium that has about a dozen different species of fish inside of it. We do have a lot of reptiles, a lot of snakes and turtles, tarantula, lots of amphibians, salamanders, frogs, toads, and things of that nature. But outside obviously is the best place to discover nature and actually getting outside there. And so we do end up with a lot of birds moving through. I think we've recorded over 160 different species that use the area. Lots of different reptiles, box turtles, a variety of snakes, especially our western rat snakes, which are the big black ones. We do have a lot of spotted salamanders, and we do have some programs in the early spring or late winter, kind of depending on what your definition of those two areas are. But that's the time the spotted salamanders all come out of the forest at the same time, and they all go to a pond to do their mating thing.
I see.
And so we try and get out there when that happens so the public can experience that with us.
Yes.
And we saw this last year, and it was a very amazing sight. Counted over 40 salamanders at one pond, which was just very cool, especially if you've never experienced a salamander in the first place. So there's a lot of different animals. Of course, we have animals that overwinter there, animals that are nesting there, and the turkeys being the most famous. And I think we have over 40 turkeys using the property, so that's a pretty good sized flock. Yeah. Yep.
Well, now, so basically, we're talking about how many acres within this larger city of Jefferson City, Missouri. How many acres do we cover here?
So we're about 100 acres. The public doesn't have access to all of that. Some is actually on the east side of 179, and we're on the west side.
I see.
And we're also connected to the commission headquarters, which is the Missouri Department of Conservation headquarters. And so we have all that property all together, which also has trails and for the public to use as well as a couple of fishing ponds up there that they can use. It's all catch and release, but that's another opportunity to help experience nature. So That's a pretty good chunk of property here, right here in the middle of town. So.
Right, you've got some fantastic people, as you mentioned. I don't know if you have a program, an incentive program for your volunteers, but I know they all are very professional. You're welcome. They guide you through. And then I don't want to forget to mention the site boards, I guess you would call them, the history, the lay of the land. I'm not sure what you call them professionally. When you walk in, you can actually see site boards of how these animals live, some of the history of the stones back with the Native Americans, if I recall. So there's so much there for just everyone. It seems like there's something for everyone. And now we have a great program for the children. You cannot usually attend or drop by without seeing a couple bus loads. And they're right off of what I call 179 north of 50 highway, called Commerce Drive, if you do not know where the Runge Center's at. So we'll give you a little bit of direction. Anything you would like to say about those, as I call them, site boards? Give me the correct.
Yes, we do have a lot of kind of impersonal interpretation as well. So we have a lot of things that are standing up there existing. That way, I don't necessarily have to come talk to you to hopefully make a connection. So we try and, again, we're trying to educate, which is what a lot of those our displays do.
You press a button. Also, the button's correct. You get an audio.
Oh yeah, yep. And so there's different interactive things with our displays. So if you're looking at a picture of a turkey and you hear the turkey, using those two makes a better connection in your brain, so you're more likely to remember what a turkey sounds like, wherever the critter is. We have other things that use different senses, so some are using sight, touch, smell. We have some sassafras trees that are actually located inside that you could smell. It smells, well, I think they kind of smell like Fruit Loops. So they're a very fragrant tree out there in nature. But we try and bring some of that inside, because not everyone's able to walk all of our trails or quite as mobile, or maybe if it's a nasty day, they still want to get out and kind of experience some of these things. They can go inside and still see some of our different displays. We are in the process, a fairly long process of redoing the displays in Runge, and we just completed a portion of it, not this last winter, but the winter before. So about a third of our display area has changed recently, made it a little more kid-friendly because our role as a nature center has changed. Initially, we were a little more set up for adults, and now we're trying to shift to a younger age group. But by doing that, we've kind of expanded the ages that we can reach without actually having to make personal contacts. So, yeah, all sorts of ways that we can learn about nature, and that's just one of them. So.
And now I want to share with you, if you haven't heard about it already, what I'm excited about, that JCTV era, Spotlight on the Arts. I've approached Mr. Lambert for a show which exhibits an art show called Call to Nature's Art. And the different guests that has been on the show or the program here. So, what's your perspective on now, since we've set up last Monday and it's been open one day? So what's your perspective on the Call to Arts? And I understand you have a meet to greet the actual artists coming up.
Yeah, that's correct. And so the Call to Arts, you had approached me and asked me if we could do this, and I was a little hesitant at first, but I like the idea now, especially that we have it all kind of up and running. But it's just a great way to get artists in the area, because we do have some art displays at Runge that run year-round, and we kind of rotate through different artists throughout Missouri.
I see.
To get artists from all over the area, all bringing in art from different genres. We have some that are etching, some that are paintings, quilting, ceramics, all sorts of different methods. But they all have some things in common too. So they're all connected to nature, all have something to do with fish forests and wildlife or conservation in Missouri. And so even though they're different medium, they still have that one unique thing that kind of binds them together. Yes. And so it's a great way for our guests that come to visit Runge to learn about nature in a little bit different way than just what we have to offer. And obviously I don't have to tell you, but art evokes a lot of feelings, and which when they come to the Nature Center, we want them to have that. We want them to feel something when they're there, because that makes a better connection with nature.
It's going to be a complete experience once you've toured the Runge Center and see this art from some of the well-known artists throughout Missouri, and even a gentleman from New Jersey has done some brought a sculpture. So I invite you to come and see it and meet and greet the artists on May 19th from 10 o'clock a.m. to 2 p.m. And that's tied in with another program. So I do want to invite you. It's May through June. June 30th is the last day. Well, you've given your website. Do you want to give a email or telephone? Is the website sufficient?
Oh, we can, yeah. So the phone number for the Runge Nature Center is 573, just to make sure I get it right, 526-544-5544. If you do have any questions or nature questions about this art exhibit, anything that's, feel free to give us a call, and we'll try and help you best we can. Likewise, if you'd rather email, we are Runge, R-U-N-G-E, at mdc.mo.gov.
Right, and those will be up on the screen here for you. Yes, that's really great. Well, Austin, on behalf of JCTV and me personally, I want to thank you for contributing to Spotlight on the Arts. It's been a really inspiring visit with you to learn more about the duties of a naturalist who has the best job in town, I believe. It has been giving us all a window into the Missouri Department of Conservation, and especially the Runge Conservation Nature Center. So thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great.
Thank you. Well, Spotlight on the Arts. You get it all here. And coming up, as I promised to share with you, coming up on Spotlight on the Arts, our next guest, it will be artist Bill Helvey. His art is known throughout the state and the United States. And we can share more about that, of why. That show is scheduled to be taped on June 6th of 2018. And my next guest on the Mid-Missouri Art News are artists Susie Acree Rogers and Gary Cadwalder, who is I spoke of earlier, winning at the Missouri State Fair last year. And Susie holds a pretty mean brush also. So again, keep tuned. My thanks goes out wholeheartedly to our producer, Gloria Enlow, and her crew. And thank you, our viewers, for joining us. Look for more Spotlight on the Arts right here at JCTV. Don't forget YouTube. I'm Rick Jey saying, see you next time.